The phone call that changed everything came at 11:47 p.m. on a Tuesday. Keisha Williams was mopping the executive floor of Sterling International when CEO Marcus Sterling's office phone rang. She had been cleaning these offices for 18 months, arriving at 10 p.m. every weeknight after her day job at the grocery store, invisible to the executives who walked past her every day. Her cleaning cart squeaked as she moved from office to office, the sound echoing through the empty hallways. Most nights she worked in complete silence, but tonight was different. Through the glass walls, she could see Sterling pacing frantically, his usually perfect hair disheveled, his tie loosened. His voice carried through the thin walls as he spoke rapidly into his phone. "What do you mean the translator quit? The Japanese delegation arrives in 6 hours." His voice cracked with panic. "This deal is worth $40 million, Peterson. We can't postpone again. They've already flown halfway around the world." Keisha paused her mopping, instinctively understanding the crisis. She had seen the preparations for weeks: catered meetings, special presentations printed on expensive paper, executives working late into the night. This was Sterling International's biggest potential contract, a technology partnership with Yamamoto Industries from Tokyo that could save the struggling company. "I don't care if it's midnight. Find someone who speaks Japanese." Sterling slammed the phone down, then immediately picked it up again. "Sarah? I need you to call every translation service in the city. Yes, I know it's late. Wake them up if you have to." Through his office window, Keisha watched him pace behind his massive oak desk, the city lights casting shadows across his worried face. She had cleaned this office hundreds of times, emptied his trash, dusted his awards, wiped down the conference table where he made decisions that affected hundreds of employees. She knew more about this company than most people realized. While cleaning, she had overheard enough conversations to understand that Sterling International was struggling. 3 major deals had fallen through this year because of communication problems with international clients. The company had laid off 30 people last month, and rumors of bankruptcy circulated in the break rooms. "Translating services. This is Marcus Sterling. I need your best Japanese translator here by 6 a.m. "What do you mean $5,000 for emergency service?" "Fine, just... Wait, you don't have anyone available?" His face went pale. "Try Global Communications then." Keisha moved her cart closer, pretending to clean the water fountain outside his office. She watched him make call after call, each one ending in frustration. Translation services were either closed, unavailable, or demanding astronomical emergency fees that would eat into the profit margins. "Worldwide translators? No one available until Thursday? But the meeting is in 6 hours." He hung up and put his head in his hands. Sterling looked exhausted. The confident CEO she had observed from a distance for months now seemed small and defeated behind his big desk. His expensive suit was wrinkled, his coffee cup sat cold and forgotten, and stress lines creased his forehead. She knew she should just finish cleaning and leave. That's what invisible people do. That's what she had been doing for 18 months, staying invisible, keeping quiet, doing her job while her master's degree in international business and language studies collected dust in her small apartment. But something about his desperation reminded her of her own struggles. She thought about her student loan payments, her rejection letters, her dreams that seemed further away each night she spent mopping these floors. She knocked gently on his office door. Sterling looked up with exhausted red eyes. "We're closed. Security will let you out." "Mr. Sterling, I couldn't help but overhear. You need a Japanese translator?" He blinked as if seeing her for the first time. For 18 months she had been furniture to him, part of the background like the plants or the cleaning supplies. Now he was actually looking at her face. "You're cleaning staff, right?" "Yes, sir, but I speak Japanese fluently, and Mandarin, Korean, Arabic, French, and Spanish." She kept her voice calm despite her racing heart. Sterling stared at her like she had just claimed to fly. "You speak Japanese?" "Yes, sir. I lived in Osaka for 2 years during college and worked for a Japanese trading company. I have a master's degree in international business and language studies from Georgetown." "Then why are you—" He gestured at her cleaning cart, confusion clear on his face. Keisha took a deep breath. This was the moment she had been preparing for without realizing it. I've applied for translator and international business positions here 14 times over the past year and a half. My resume lists all my qualifications and language skills. Sterling's frown deepened. 14 times? Who handles those applications? HR Director Jennifer Walsh, sir. He was quiet for a long moment, studying her face as if trying to solve a puzzle. What's your name? Keisha Williams. Keisha Williams. He repeated as if testing how it sounded. Can you really handle a high-level business negotiation in Japanese? This isn't just casual conversation. These are sophisticated business executives discussing complex technology partnerships. I specialized in Japanese corporate culture and business language at Georgetown. I wrote my thesis on cross-cultural communication barriers in international technology partnerships. I can explain cultural nuances that might make or break your deal. Sterling looked at his watch. 12:15 a.m. The Japanese delegation would arrive at 6 a.m. for an 8 a.m. meeting that could save or destroy his company. The quarterly reports showed massive losses. If this deal failed, he would have to lay off another 100 employees by Christmas. Show me, he said, handing her a contract from his desk. Translate this paragraph. Keisha read the English text carefully, then spoke in fluent Japanese, her pronunciation perfect and natural. The words flowed smoothly, with the formal business tone required for corporate negotiations. Sterling pulled up Google Translate on his computer to check. Her translation was not only accurate, but used formal business language that the computer couldn't capture. The software says business partnership, Sterling noted, but you said something longer. I said mutually beneficial long-term strategic partnership that honors both companies' traditions and goals. The Japanese value precision and respect in business language. Google Translate gives you the basic meaning, but loses the cultural respect that could make them trust you. Sterling leaned back in his chair, his mind racing. How do I know you can handle the pressure of a $40 million negotiation? These are some of the toughest business executives in Japan. They've already canceled 2 meetings because of communication issues. Mr. Sterling, I've been working 3 jobs to pay off my student loans while applying for positions I'm overqualified for. I've been handling pressure my entire life. The question isn't whether I can handle it. The question is whether you can afford not to let me try. At 1 a.m., Sterling made a decision that surprised them both. The meeting is at 8 a.m. If you can help me save this deal, I'll pay you $5,000 for the day and we'll discuss a permanent position afterward. Sir, I don't have business clothes. Sarah, he called his assistant, who had been fielding calls all night from her home office. Emergency shopping run. Get Ms. Williams a professional outfit from the 24-hour mall. Size? He looked at Keisha questioningly. Size 8, she said, still not believing this was happening. Size 8, professional business attire. Charge it to the company emergency fund. The next 6 hours were the most intense of Keisha's life. While Sarah arranged for clothes, Keisha dove into the contract documents, her years of studying international business finally put to use. She reviewed every page, researched the Japanese company's history online, and prepared cultural briefings that Sterling had never considered. Tell me about Yamamoto Industries, Sterling said at 3 a.m. as they worked through stacks of papers. Founded in 1952 by Hiroshi Yamamoto after the war, they started by rebuilding communication infrastructure in destroyed cities. The company is now run by his son Takeshi Yamamoto, but the daughter Akiko handles international partnerships. She's the one you really need to impress. How do you know all this? I researched them when I applied for the international relations position 6 months ago. I prepared a full presentation on how Sterling International could partner with them. It's in my rejected application file. Sterling's face darkened, but he said nothing. In Japanese business culture, Keisha explained at 6 a.m. as they prepared, the senior executive will expect you to present your business card with both hands and a slight bow. Never grab it with one hand or stuff it in your pocket. And never point directly at the contract pages, use an open palm gesture. They consider pointing rude. What about eye contact? Respectful eye contact, but don't stare. And when Yamamoto-san speaks, wait 3 seconds before responding. It shows you're considering his words carefully, not just waiting for your turn to talk. When the Yamamoto Industries delegation arrived at 7:45 a.m., led by the distinguished Mr. Yamamoto and his daughter Akiko, Keisha greeted them in the lobby with perfect Japanese. Their faces immediately lit up with surprise and respect. Yamamoto-san, Akiko-san, welcome to Sterling International. We are deeply honored by your visit and grateful for your time, she said with appropriate bows. Mr. Yamamoto responded in rapid Japanese, testing her fluency. Your Japanese is excellent. Where did you study? I lived in Osaka for 2 years and worked with Mitsubishi Trading. I have great respect for Japanese business culture and the innovations of Yamamoto Industries. Akiko smiled and replied in English, Father, she speaks like someone who truly understands our way of thinking. What Sterling witnessed over the next 4 hours amazed him. Keisha didn't just translate words, she translated intentions, cultural meanings, and business concepts that bridged 2 different ways of thinking. When Mr. Yamamoto made a subtle reference to Japanese poetry to express concerns about the partnership timeline, Keisha not only translated it, but explained the cultural meaning to Sterling, then helped him respond appropriately. He's referencing a poem about patience and careful planning, she whispered to Sterling during a brief pause. He's saying that rushing could destroy the foundation of trust. You should acknowledge that wisdom and explain how our timeline actually allows for careful implementation. Sterling nodded and responded, Yamamoto-san, your wisdom reminds us that the strongest partnerships, like the strongest buildings, require careful foundation work. Our proposed timeline includes 3 months of planning before any implementation begins. Mr. Yamamoto's eyes brightened with approval as Keisha translated this response. During the technical presentation, Keisha caught a critical misunderstanding before it became a problem. The Japanese executives were confused about data security protocols, but Sterling didn't realize their concern. They're worried about industrial espionage, Keisha quickly explained to Sterling. In Japan, they've had problems with technology theft. Akiko is asking about our security measures, but she's being indirect about it because directly questioning your company's trustworthiness would be rude. Sterling addressed their concerns directly but respectfully, explaining Sterling International's security measures and offering to sign additional confidentiality agreements. The tension in the room immediately decreased. Your translator is exceptional, Mr. Yamamoto told Sterling in English during a break. She understands not just our language, but our heart. This gives us great confidence in your company's commitment to true partnership. By lunch, the conversation had moved beyond the original $40 million deal. Akiko mentioned other opportunities, technology sharing agreements, joint research projects, and long-term partnerships that could be worth hundreds of millions over 5 years. She's testing whether you're thinking long-term or just looking for a quick profit, Keisha explained to Sterling quietly. Japanese companies value partners who think in decades, not quarters. The deal was signed at 2 p.m., not just the original $40 million, but an expanded partnership worth $60 million in the first phase, with options for additional projects worth another $100 million over 3 years. As the Japanese delegation prepared to leave, Mr. Yamamoto approached Keisha directly. Ms. Williams, your skill and cultural understanding made this partnership possible. If you ever consider working in Japan, Yamamoto Industries would be honored to discuss opportunities with you. Akiko nodded in agreement. You have a gift for building bridges between cultures. That is rare and valuable. That evening, Sterling called Keisha into his office. On his desk were 14 applications, all with her name on them. I asked HR for your file, he said quietly. 14 applications over 18 months. Each one lists Japanese, Mandarin, Korean, Arabic, French, and Spanish fluency, master's degree from Georgetown, honors in international business, thesis on cross-cultural communication and technology partnerships. He looked up at her with a mixture of anger and embarrassment. Every single application was rejected with notes like, "Not a good cultural fit," "Doesn't project the right professional image," or "Lacks the sophisticated background needed for our international clients." Keisha's stomach tightened, but she said nothing. She had read those rejection emails so many times she had memorized them. "Jennifer Walsh rejected you 14 times while I was paying translation services $3,000 per meeting. Last month alone, we spent $18,000 on translators for deals worth half of what you helped me close today." Sterling stood up, his face grim with realization. 3 deals failed this year because of translation problems. The Korean electronics company walked away after our translator offended them by using casual language in a formal presentation. The French pharmaceutical company canceled their contract because our translator misunderstood their regulatory concerns. He pulled out more files. Walsh hired Thompson for the International Relations Coordinator position, the job you applied for 6 times. He speaks only English and basic Spanish. His starting salary was $75,000. Yesterday, he cost us a potential partnership with a Brazilian company because he couldn't communicate beyond hello and thank you in Portuguese. Meanwhile, Sterling continued, his voice rising with anger, "You were cleaning our floors for $12 an hour while having the exact skills we desperately needed. I'm calling an emergency board meeting tomorrow. Walsh is being terminated for discriminatory hiring practices that have cost this company hundreds of thousands of dollars in lost business and inflated translation costs." He walked to his window, looking out at the city skyline. "And you, Ms. Williams, are being offered the position of Director of International Relations. Starting salary $120,000, full benefits, and a $20,000 signing bonus to compensate for the 18 months of lost opportunities." Keisha felt tears welling up, but she kept her voice steady. "Mr. Sterling, I accept." The investigation that followed revealed a shocking pattern that went far beyond Keisha's case. Jennifer Walsh had rejected over 40 qualified minority candidates over 3 years while hiring less qualified white candidates for higher positions. The pattern was consistent and deliberate. Walsh had rejected a Korean War veteran who spoke 4 languages for a logistics position, instead hiring her nephew who had no relevant experience. She had turned away a former diplomat from Nigeria for an international trade role, claiming he wouldn't fit in with clients, then hired a recent college graduate with no international experience. The company had been hemorrhaging money on external translation services, while talented multilingual employees worked in cleaning, security, food service, and maintenance. A security guard spoke 5 languages and had a law degree from his home country. A cafeteria worker had an MBA and spoke Arabic and Farsi. A maintenance worker was a former diplomat from Nigeria. "We were literally throwing away millions of dollars," Sterling told the board of directors during Walsh's termination hearing, "while the talent we needed was right under our noses." Walsh's defense was pathetic and revealing. "I hired people who would represent the company appropriately," she said. "Our clients expect a certain professional appearance." "You mean white appearance," board member Patricia Chen said coldly. "Because according to these records, you consistently hired less qualified white candidates over more qualified candidates of color." Walsh was terminated immediately and faced a federal discrimination lawsuit filed jointly by 15 rejected candidates. Her pattern of discrimination had cost Sterling International an estimated $2.3 million in lost business and inflated service costs over 3 years. 6 months later, Keisha stood before a packed conference room, announcing the launch of Sterling International's Hidden Talent Initiative. The program had transformed the company from the inside out. "We learned that talent doesn't always come in the package we expect," Sterling told the assembled staff. "Some of our most valuable employees were hiding in plain sight, kept invisible by our own prejudices." The security guard with 5 languages now headed the Latin American division. The cafeteria worker with an MBA became the Middle East liaison. The former Nigerian diplomat took over African operations. Sterling International's international business had tripled in 6 months. "The most important translation I ever made," Keisha told a packed auditorium at Georgetown University 6 months later. wasn't from one language to another. It was translating my own worth in a world that judged me by my appearance instead of my abilities. But the real victory wasn't my promotion. It was ensuring that no one else would have to clean floors while their talents went unrecognized. Jennifer Walsh, meanwhile, found herself unemployable in HR. Word of the discrimination lawsuit had spread throughout the industry. Her pattern of bias had been so egregious that no reputable company would hire her. She eventually took a minimum wage job at a call center, experiencing for the first time what it felt like to have her potential ignored. On the day Sterling International signed its 10th major international contract with Keisha's help, she received a letter from Japan. Yamamoto Industries wanted to create a joint scholarship program for students studying cross-cultural business communication. "Your vision of building bridges between cultures has inspired us," Akiko wrote. "We want to help train the next generation of cultural translators like you." Keisha smiled as she read the letter in her corner office, with its view of the city skyline. On her desk sat awards for International Business Executive of the Year and Diversity Champion. But her proudest possession was a framed photo from the Hidden Talent Initiative's first graduation ceremony. True communication isn't just about speaking different languages. It's about recognizing that wisdom, talent, and brilliance exist in every corner of our society, often hidden behind prejudices that blind us to our greatest resources. The most successful companies aren't the ones that hire people who look like success. They're the ones smart enough to recognize that success comes in every color, accent, and background. The greatest business deals aren't just about money. They're about recognizing the value that exists right in front of us, waiting for someone brave enough to look beyond the surface and listen to what people are truly capable of achieving. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more powerful stories that inspire change and help transform our society.